All right, week 8 college football breakdown here. Good little afternoon Pac-12 battle. Got Arizona State traveling to Stanford off of that big win in South Bend against Notre Dame. Seeing Stanford at home is a 2.5-point favorite. Seems a little bit short, and a pretty standard total of 53.5. I know Stanford won last week. That improved them to a dazzling 2-4. Teams, you see teams step up like that once or twice a season in games that you don't think they will. We saw it from Stanford last year. They beat Oregon, and then they went on to be a very bad football team. So we see that from time to time. This Arizona State team actually does have what it takes to exploit some of Stanford's weaknesses. I mean, Stanford's run defense is poor. Let's call it what it is. It's a bad defense, and specifically that run defense is poor. Well, Arizona State's strength defensively, and what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to pin their ears back and pound the ball down your throat. With Nagata, with Valladay, that's just what they do. Obviously, the quarterback situation is a bit murky at Arizona State. Emory Jones went down in their last game. I'll say their backup, Trenton Borgway. If I'm saying that wrong, if you're an Arizona State fan, let me know. He looked better than Jones has all year in that game, and they pulled the outright upset against Washington. There's been rumblings. If Jones comes back, is he even the starter? I think regardless, you're going to get a pretty high floor performance out of Arizona State's quarterbacks. The one thing I'll give Stanford, they've shown improvement along their defensive line. They've started to get more pressure on the quarterback, and that's the one area I think they actually can exploit Arizona State. Arizona State's offensive line is not good. Let's call it what it is. So if Stanford really has improved in that area, then this should be a matchup where that shows. Stanford's also gotten a lot better along their offensive line. Just 4 sacks over these past 3 weeks. We know what they can do in the passing game. I mean, Tanner McKee he's not going to light it up in the Stanford system. He's not going to be a notable college player, but there's a reason Tanner McKee, draws high praise from NFL scouts. He's got plenty of weapons at his disposal. No, Stanford can't run the ball all that well, especially with their number 1 running back down for the season, but this is also not a very hard matchup for their offense. Arizona State's defense is much like Stanford's, not good at all, specifically in their pass defense. So in theory, Tanner McKee should be able to have a pretty good game in this one. I guess my issue is I think Arizona State's offense has just as clear of a path in a much different way. I think Arizona State's going to stick with the ground game, and it should work against Stanford. And then I think Stanford's going to beat Arizona State through the air. Maybe the over 53.5 is worth a look. The one thing I will say is just pace in this game is not there. These are not two teams, neither one of these teams like to really, push the pace. And Arizona State specifically is a very pro style. I mean, both these are pro style systems, but Arizona State has really gone slow this year. Stanford showed more willingness to run with pace, but probably because they've been down in so many games. But in what should be a pretty competitive game, I just don't know if the pace is going to be there to get this over. There's neither one of these offenses are particularly built to light up the scoreboard. With that said, neither is going to face much of a resistance in this matchup, and I know it's appealing to see Stanford as a 2.5-point favorite and think off of last week's win, line seems short. I'm not saying it won't happen. I wouldn't use last week as your only indicator to make that bet, and that's all I'll say. It's over a pass for me, but ultimately think it is going to be a pass. All right, guys, before we get out of here, I know you see this shirt right here. If you're in need of unique but comfortable golf apparel, head over to proud90.com. They got polos with the colder weather coming, hoodies and quarter zips. Recently added a ladies line. Proud 90's got all your golf apparel needs. Browse their selection, and if you see anything you like at checkout, use code Fordham. It's going to get you 15% off your entire order. That's code Fordham is going to get you 15% off your order at proud90.com. Support me, support Proud 90, proud90.com.